Hi, welcome to Rock and Metal Invasion. My name is Steve. Coming up on the show today, I'm doing The Band Is the Album Cover Part 2. Carrying on from where I left off with Part 1, where I am showing albums in my collection that have the band on the front cover. So it's basically just a picture of the band on the front cover, and that takes up most of the front cover. And as you probably saw if you saw Part 1, there are quite a few albums in my collection that have the band on the front cover. And it's interesting too, because then I went through and I had a look through sort of albums that came out in the sort of mid to late 90s and through the 2000s. And at least for albums, hard rock and metal albums I've got in my collection, it's a lot less common for the band to be on the front cover. So they sort of tend to go for more sort of abstract sort of art type things on the front cover. But for the 80s and early 90s especially, at least with albums in my collection, lots of album covers with the band on the front cover. So, it's just a chance to show those and maybe just have a little chat about, the albums as I go through. So let's get into it. So starting off with Private Life. Now this is female fronted. I've talked about this band quite recently when I did the 10 album challenge. This wasn't the album I had to listen to, it was the first one. So this is their second one, but yeah, they've got the whole band on the front cover there. Very predominantly and on the front cover, which is pretty much the idea, right? It's just pretty much just the whole band all there on that front cover. Loverboy, this is Keep It Up, and looking very serious here, aren't they? Looking very serious. And this photo here with the three guys at the back and then the sort of two at the front reminded me actually of this one, Europe. Out of This World, which I showed in part 1. So it's kind of similar, the same sort of formation, 3 at the back, 2 at the front sort of thing. Yeah, it's a common thing. And here's another one, Loverboy, and this one they're looking a lot happier. This is Loving Every Minute of It. I guess now they've had platinum albums, they're a lot happier, I don't know. But yeah, a lot happier. Someone's cracked a joke. Anyway, there they all are. By the way, too, there were other albums as well that I found as I was going through that I could have chosen. I just thought this is going to be, I don't have too many albums. There's just so many. So there's a few that I just didn't bother with, but I was certainly picking out the ones I thought were interesting to talk about. I had to choose these guys, Pretty Boy Floyd and Leather Boys with Electric Toys. It's actually really not a picture of the band, is it? Because it's like a picture of them. Someone's drawn a picture of them. I guess that is the band though. There were a few like this where the band had been drawn and I didn't count it because it's not a picture of the band, but a photo of the band. But I had to choose this one because this is just such an iconic sort of cover, really. So glam, but you do actually see what they look like in a photo form on the back, and it's really not that far removed from how they look on the front cover. Yeah. In my last video, I talked about I think it was when a band is female fronted, or and it was I think I was talking about Femme Fatale, and that you wouldn't necessarily know by looking at the band if it was a hard rock hair metal type band if it's an all female band, but if you had the long haired guys in the background, that kind of gave you an idea. But so a band like this, which is all females, a little bit more harder to know, but there's a few clues here that they're not looking too. They're looking like they've got a bit of a rock look going on here, but also the name of the band is Precious Metal. I don't know, but it's all female front band. I think this is their last album they put out, but and probably my favorite one. It's probably when I say that's the heaviest. They never really got that heavy, but some good hard rock on this one anyway. And it's a good album. Quite well known for having Donald Trump is in one of their music videos. I think it's Mr. Big Stuff. Yeah. Here's another all-female band. Now, this is a really good example what I was talking about before, where you look at the cover and you wouldn't necessarily know that this is like a hard rock band. In fact, this is quite even closer to metal. This band can be quite heavy. But you look at this and you think it's a pop band. So this is Phantom Blue, their debut album. Looking really pop, just the way the art's been done here. A lot better on the back cover because at least you can see, a couple of the ladies have guitars and there's drumsticks, both, bass as well. So it gives you a little bit more of an idea. But and of course, look at the record label too. Oh, Shrapnel Roadrunner. Okay, yeah, this could be something I'm into. But yeah, not the best album cover. And like I say, they were actually a fairly heavy band. Here's another all-female band. This one again, I guess it's a little bit like Precious Metal with their look. It's kind of tough enough that you can kind of go, okay, they're not pop. But yeah, Vixen is the name of the band. Of course, the album's called Rev It Up. But by this stage, it's their second album. Most people probably heard about them and knew of them. Yeah, just the band on the front cover there. Now, this is Pink Cream 69. Probably not the best name for a band, but they've released quite a few albums. They kept going throughout the 90s. And yeah, this was pretty good. This came out on Epic in, I think it was 91, yeah. So kind of, this is their first album, this is their debut album. So they're kind of late to the party, so to speak. But they did keep going, of course, all through the 90s and I think even into the early 2000s. Yeah, Pink Cream 69, one size fits all. Like I said, not a great name for a band, but these guys probably have an even worse name. This is Swedish Erotica, and this is their debut album. The guys on the front there, you know, I don't know, but maybe they're from Sweden. But I know the producer's Ollie Evinrude, who is kind of a well-known producer. He's also did some solo work as well, which is pretty good, you know, hard rock sort of stuff in the 80s, late 80s. Yeah, there's a picture of them back. Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad. It's not great. It is exactly what you would think. And this one's kind of exactly what you'd think as well. But this is a band called Orphan and Salute. So there they are on the front cover. Now, their look is kind of like, they're sort of like half hair metal. Like he's looking kind of hair metal. He's kind of got a bit, but these two guys had the shorter hair. So you sort of, I would be a bit unsure about, you know, what this music's going to be like. It's 1985. It's almost a bit, is it new wave or is it hard rock? And it's a bit of a mixture really. But, you know, Woman in Love, which is on this album, that's a real hair metal type song. And I really like that one. That's my go-to song from this album. So it's worth checking out. But yeah, not all the songs are that heavy. I think this might be, I think they did 2 albums. I think this is their final one. I'm not absolutely certain about that because, like I say, I'm not a massive fan, but I do like the song Woman in Love. But yeah, their previous albums are a lot more sort of new wave, I guess, or a lot more pop rock. But yeah, and I think they're Canadian. There's another similar type of band with a sort of similar sound. And again, this is before hair metal really takes off. So maybe if this had been released a few years later, they might have gone for the full hair metal look. But they've got long hair, but they haven't got, you know, some short on the sides kind of look as well. You know, and it's basically it's hard rock, but never gets too heavy. This is, yeah, like I said, 1984. This is a band called Urgent and Cast the First Stone. Again, I think they did 2 albums. I think this is their second one. But yeah, just the band on the front cover there. And yeah. Now, definitely no doubt about these guys. This is, of course, Motley Crue, total hair metal. At this stage, this is Girls, Girls, Girls. In fact, they maybe invented hair metal, but inadvertently. But yeah, it's a pretty iconic cover, actually. I do like this cover. It's not one of my favorite Motley Crue albums, but yeah, Girls, Girls, Girls. And yeah, they are at the back as well. All right, going to something a bit more obscure again now. This is Brian McDonald Group. It's kind of unusual, I think, in hard rock or metal for a band to kind of just have like someone's name. Like, obviously there's Dokken and Bon Jovi where they're using surnames, but to actually go Brian McDonald Group wasn't quite so, had the you know, the front man sort of name and then just add group at the end wasn't so common really. Also not common to have a moustache, especially by sort of the mid-'80s, but this is, I think, even 87, so yeah. I don't know, the moustache look wasn't really in at that point, but anyway, otherwise they've got pretty much the sort of, you know, that sort of typical sort of look, I guess. It is, again, you know, like what it says here, I wouldn't say it's a hard rock classic like the Hype Stick is saying, but it's definitely good hard rock. It's really well produced. Beau Hill does the production, and they're thanking a special musical thanks to Red Beach, from Winger, so he must contribute some guitar work on here. Only $2.99, but I think I don't know how much I paid, but I think it was probably more than that. Le Mans, this is their second album, I think, and yeah, it came out on CBS. Might have also been on another label as well. I had a feeling it was Shrapnel, but maybe that was their previous album, because yeah, it does say produced by Mike Varney for Shrapnel, but this here then also says CBS. 1986, Love Lies, that's my go-to song from this album. I really like that song, but yeah, not a bad album. Next one, Legs Diamonds. Talked about this band before on my channel, and this is Land of the Gun. So they're kind of doing that kind of, that square or rectangle picture in the middle, and there's not much else outside of that. And then on the back, they're doing the, and I talked about this on my show, on my last show, where they have the bars. They're actually doing that on the back cover. So I showed Brittany Fox, where they, here it is here, where they have the bars. So they're actually doing that on the back cover. In fact, I've got another example of the bars being used to separate each member. Here we go. This is Tiger Tails, Young and Crazy. So each member sort of got these lines going through the middle. This is their first album on Music for Nations. Although actually my one is Combat, but yeah. And Stevie James is on vocals for this one, but they changed vocalists for their next album. Sound doesn't really change too much. Yeah, and again, this sort of bars or lines down through the middle of each member. Done that again here with Rat. This is Dancing Undercover. And just, that's the back cover there, but yeah. Don't need to talk about Rat too much, do we? Everyone knows Rat. This is a band called Treat. I think this is their first album. It's called Scratch and Bite. So there they are at the front. I've actually talked about this cover before, because if you turn it over, you see the lady's hand. Well, the lady's hand is going through, right? It's going through and like putting her hands through the band, so to speak, right? And she's got her tongue out, but it doesn't actually make sense because her head is upside down. They should have had a picture of her head the other way, unless she's somehow, I don't know, hanging from the roof or something. But yeah. TNT, this is their second album, Tell No Tales, the name of the album. Yeah, it's just a basic sort of, again, rather than, it's a square but or a rectangle picture in the middle, but they've also, it's at a slight angle as well. But yeah, that's all it is really. And then some more pictures of the band at the back. So, there's a lot, with a lot of these, they don't even just put the band on the front, there's even more often on the back as well. This one's pretty self-explanatory. So it's Tangier, this is their second album. They've got a new vocalist for this album. I think that's him there. But yeah, self-explanatory in the sense it's called Stranded. And I guess the look here is that they are stranded. I mean, it's, not a bad looking album cover, I suppose. It's it tells the story of the album title. And yeah, then again, you've got that sort of, basic band photo at the back as well. Not as good as their first album. Got some good songs though. This is Strange Ways, Walk in the Fire. So just the picture of the band, but a little bit like that Easy O one that I showed last time, where they've kind of put some sort of colouring over it, just to change the colour of the photo a little bit. But yeah, you can still see the guys there. So Strange Ways and Walk in the Fire. It's probably one of their heavier albums, and it's probably my favourite one. It's pretty good. If you like sort of 80s hard rock. South Gang. Yeah, so, these guys, this is called Tainted Angel. This is their first album. They do release another album. This came out in 91 and produced by Howard Benson, but executive produced by Desmond Child, and he does a little bit of songwriting, I think, as well. There's more pictures of the guys, and actually they've got a little lady there in the middle. Butch Walker is, I think that's him there. He goes on to be sort of quite a well-known songwriter and producer, and he's in the Marvelous 3 as well. Sleaze Bees, I think Screwed, Blued and Tattooed, I guess the image of the band pretty much tells you what the music's about. It's sort of, and they're not glammed up, right? They're kind of this is just what they're wearing when they go out to the bars and everything. And, it's sort of a bit of a more tougher sort of a look. And that kind of sums them up. They kind of got that sort of AC/DC, but it's a bit of a mix of AC/DC and early Def Leppard kind of sound, I think. But it's pretty good. I think they might be from, I'm not sure about this, but they might be from Denmark. They're definitely European. And they had released an album prior to this, but wasn't on a major label. And then they do another major label album, and then that finishes up. And they do another album as well independently. But this is a good album. Shout, Christian metal. Well, that's not. I mean, I don't know what about it is particularly Christian, and but it's on the Music for Nations label, and In Your Face. I don't know what it was with calling your album In Your Face. I guess they do have a song called In Your Face. Kingdom Come also had an album come out around this time called In Your Face. But it's a good album actually. I like. I think I've talked about this one recently for something. But Borderline, When the Love Is Gone. That's they're two good songs. The first two songs on the album. Shadow King. So the band's on the front cover here. It's mostly well known for Lou Gramm from Foreigner, but also Vivian Campbell, ex-guitarist, it says here, with Whitesnake and Dio. So there they are. It's actually quite a simple sort of cover because it's basically black and white, right? But interesting, they use exactly the same photo on the back. It's not really not making much of an effort, are they? Same photo on the back as on the front. And again, really just very simple, just white, a lot of white, just nothing. And then the song title's there. But yeah, great album though. I love that album. Soraya, so female fronted again, but it's interesting because you don't necessarily even know it's female fronted. There's a female in the band. So there's Soraya, you'd think would be one of the selling points of the band, but they're kind of hiding her a little bit here. I guess you can tell it's she's a female. It's a female, but not obvious. But I guess it's very sort of dark. Just basically you can see their faces because they're wearing black leather jackets and so forth. But it's the first album, really good. And even on the back cover, she's kind of turning her face away a little bit. Don't really see her. But yeah, I've talked about Soraya before. Definitely like that album and the album after that as well. But then there's been nothing more. I've heard talk there's going to be a third album, but I don't know if it's going to happen or not. So this one here, Saigon Kick. I thought I'd choose this one because although granted it's not a group shot, you've got the four members on the front cover, and I always thought this was interesting. Like, what's going on here? I always thought, is he in pain or what exactly does this mean? I think maybe the back cover might have been a better front cover, but I'm not sure. But it's of course their debut album, and this is the reissue that came out recently on Real Gone Music. 2021 it was reissued. Total Hair Metal now coming up. This is Rox Gang and Things You've Never Done Before. Really good album. I think these guys were a bit unlucky maybe not to have a little bit more success. I mean, they came out at a great time for hair metal. Maybe, again, there was too much of the stuff coming out and they kind of got lost. They were on Virgin Records as well, which wasn't really a label that was had a lot of bands like this. But yeah, I mean, No Easy Way Out and Red Rose, they are my two go-to songs, but it's a pretty consistently good album actually. And produced by Boho. I love his production work. I think he the albums he worked on in the 80s sound fantastic. And of course, they have released some other albums, some under other names as well, but nothing really ever matches the quality of this one. I've talked about this band before as well. This is Reckless, Heart of Steel. It's their second album. They've got a new vocalist. They were female fronted on their first album. And then this guy here comes in. And yeah, it's just that basic sort of just standing band shot, everyone just looking at the camera sort of stuff. Pretty basic stuff. And then, a photo of each of them there at the back as well. So you certainly get a good look at the band. Next one, XYZ. Just, I don't mind this cover because I think it's fine. You know, there's a cover with a shot of the band. Yeah, and then just the song titles at the back. Produced by Don Dokken. Such a good album. And the second one's good as well, the one after that. It's a really good band, I think. His first two albums from XYZ. Definitely worth having in your collection. These guys, I don't know what's going on here. This is not a good album cover. I mean, the skateboard look and the clothing they're wearing, I wouldn't even necessarily know that this is hard rock or hair metal. You know, it's like, you wouldn't know for sure. I mean, I got it because I'd already heard it, right? I mean, I didn't get this back in the day. I got it like, you know, when I had access to the internet and I had played some of the songs and thought, oh, they sound a little bit like Bonfire. And they do, you know, a little bit. Not as good, but a little bit like Bonfire. It's well produced. It's mixed by Michael Wagner. It came out in 1988. So, yeah, it is that sort of a sound. Very hair metal. And I guess you'd probably almost argue 88, sort of like the pinnacle of hair metal before it starts to kind of, that sort of dirty hair metal starts coming in. You know, the Guns N' Roses effect starts to come into play. So these guys are being influenced by Motley Crue and Quiet Riot and even maybe Poison and the success they've had. But then Guns N' Roses comes in and then this becomes a lot less popular. And even those bands talked about before had the hair metal look and now, you know, start toughening up their image a little bit. But yeah, in 88 that was a pretty common sort of look, and so like a bit like this. I mean, they're not total glam. It's a Vamp, of course. Again, they were another band on my 10 album challenge. They're really good too. This is 1989, produced by Tony Platt. And I did go back and re-listen to it again because I thought, on that 10 album challenge, because I thought, you know, I know I like it, but I just haven't heard it for a while. And it was good to play. And yeah, it was a good album, especially, as I said before, you know, those the songs Love Games and Renegade are two of my favourites. Now, this one's an interesting one. I don't even know if I'm going to say this right. TSOL, TSOL. I think it's an acronym, right? So I think I'm supposed to say it like TSOL because I'm pretty sure that it's an acronym for something that I have heard, but I can't remember now. But TSOL. Here we go. True Sounds of Liberty. True Sounds of Liberty. There we go. That's what it stands for. And Hit and Run. They're interesting because they look quite hair metal, and there is a little bit of sort of, they're definitely getting a bit of they do sound a little bit Guns N' Roses, I suppose, on some of the songs on this album. But I mean, it came out in 1987, so they've kind of got that sort of dirty hair metal kind of sound. But they initially were kind of more of a punk hardcore kind of a band, so or alternative rock type of a band. They're really changing their image on this album and changing their sound as well. I remember, I don't know who it was, I think it might have been Duff from Guns N' Roses. He often would have had a TSOL shirt on in the music videos. And yeah, you look at this and think, oh, it's going to sound like Guns N' Roses. And it does a little bit, or, you know, it's going to sound like a hair metal band, but it does a little bit. But there's still some remnants of their previous sort of alternative rock, punk rock kind of alternative rock, I guess, maybe more sound on this album. But and then I think they return. There is an album after this, and I think they start to return back to their roots a little bit more. I don't know too much more. This is kind of just the only one I've got from them. Hit and Run. Taiketo. This is actually the last one. Don't Come Easy. Again, it's just got the strip in the middle and a picture of the band, and more pictures of the band at the back. Forever Young, that's my go-to song. That was, I think, the first single. Kind of surprising. It's such a great song that it wasn't a hit. But then also, this is 1991, I think. So released on Geffen. So it's that sort of sound's getting less popular. Maybe didn't get a lot of airplay. But that's a great song. Also, it's not a ballad. It's quite a heavy song. So maybe that they needed a good hit ballad. But, anyway, there we go. So, like as I said, I probably could have found some more in my collection, but I just thought we'll leave it at that. This has already taken 25 minutes to go through the ones I had for part 2, and I went over 25 minutes for part 1, so there's a lot to get through. But there's just a few anyway, so hope you enjoyed that. Hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe if you haven't and you want to be made aware of more content. Usually putting out something once a week at least. I put in, but like this week I probably put out 2 or 3, so it just depends. But yeah, all right, we'll catch you later. That's it for now. See ya.